In this video, I want to talk about redefining moral injury when neurotypical expectations cause chronic autistic burnout in relationships. What if the shutdown in your relationship is not stubbornness? What if the distance is not indifference? And what if withdrawal that you as the NT spouse keep calling avoidance is actually the aftermath of moral injury? And what if one autistic partner has been asked to betray themselves for so long that their nervous system no longer trusts love itself? So today, we're going to explore a concept almost nobody's talking about in the neurodiverse marriage: chronic autistic burnout as moral injury. Because sometimes the deepest wound is not stress, it's not conflict, it's not communication problems. Sometimes the deepest wound is being required to become someone else to stay connected. And if you're the neurotypical spouse, understanding this may completely change how you interpret what's happening in your neurodiverse marriage. So let's get into it. In psychology, moral injury often refers to the emotional and spiritual damage that happens when a person is forced to violate their deepest values or experiences betrayal by systems they trusted. It's often discussed in military settings, healthcare settings, trauma settings, but I believe it also applies in many neurodiverse relationships. Because imagine being autistic and learning this message over and over. Your natural pacing is wrong, your communication style is wrong, your sensory limits are inconvenient, your need for recovery is selfish, your directness is rude, your shutdown is manipulation, your difference is a problem to be corrected. Now, imagine hearing that for years. At some point, the injury is no longer about one argument. It becomes, I had to betray myself in order to be loved. That's moral injury. Let's talk about why this feels like betrayal to the autistic partner. Most autistic adults enter relationships wanting to love deeply, wanting to contribute sincerely, wanting to create stability. But they often encounter invisible expectations, such as perform emotional responses on demand, maintain neurotypical social energy indefinitely, recover quickly after overstimulation, read implied meanings instantly, prioritize partner comfort over nervous system limits, and mask distress so the relationship feels comfortable. Over time, the autistic spouse may start complying. They push past exhaustion. They fake availability. They suppress sensory pain. They imitate emotional styles that are not natural. And from the outside, it may look like effort, but internally, it can feel like self-sabotage. That's why eventually, most autistic spouses don't just burn out. They feel betrayed by everyone, their partner, their relationship model, sometimes therapy itself, and tragically, themselves, because they abandon themselves to keep peace. Let's talk about why the neurotypical spouse misreads the shutdown. We're going to bridge the empathy gap here. The neurotypical spouse often sees less talking, less eye contact, less affection, less engagement, more irritability, more retreat. And the NT spouse interprets that as, he doesn't care. He's checked out. He stopped trying. I'm being abandoned. But what may actually be happening is this: a nervous system refusing one more act of self-betrayal. That shutdown may be the ASD spouse's body saying, I can't keep violating my limits just to look relationally acceptable. That doesn't mean every shutdown is healthy. It does mean that many shutdowns are misunderstood. It's not rejection. It's a collapse after chronic ethical exhaustion. Now let's talk about the cost of masking inside the marriage. Masking at work is exhausting. Masking socially is exhausting. But masking inside your own home? That can become devastating, because home is supposed to be a place of refuge. When home becomes the place where you must perform normalcy, the nervous system loses its safe base. Then strange things begin to happen. Small requests feel overwhelming. Simple conversations trigger panic. Partner needs feel like threats. Affection feels costly. And weekends require recovery instead of connection. Why? Because the autistic partner is not resisting intimacy. They may be associating intimacy with constant self-abandonment. And that's a very different clinical picture. Now, let me be clear. This is not about blaming neurotypical partners. Many neurotypical spouses are also hurting deeply. They may feel lonely, confused, undesired, and emotionally starved. Their pain is real too. But healing requires accuracy. If one spouse interprets burnout as cruelty and the other interprets needs as oppression, both people become enemies of symptoms they don't understand. That marriage becomes a battlefield of mislabeling. We need a new frame. Not villain versus victim, but two people trapped in a system that neither one of them understand. Now let's talk about how to repair a moral injury in a neurodiverse relationship. Healing begins when the autistic partner no longer has to purchase connection through self-betrayal. That means conversations like this. The neurotypical spouse can say, I don't want connection that costs you your identity. That's a powerful sentence right there. Or the neurotypical spouse can say, I want to understand your real limits, not the masked version. Or, I'd rather have authentic small connection than fake normal connection. Those statements restore trust. Because trust is not built when someone performs. Trust is built when someone can be known safely. Now let's talk about what the autistic partner must also do. Let's balance this out. The autistic partner also has responsibility. Healing can't become, well, just accept me exactly as I am and expect nothing. That's not going to work. The task is not to stop caring for your spouse. The task is to stop caring through self-destruction. That means learning honest communication before shutdown, naming overload early, asking for structured breaks, building recovery rituals, offering affection in authentic forms, and participating without masking. For example, instead of disappearing, you can say, you know what, I'm overloaded right now. I need about 30 minutes of quiet and then I'll come back. That protects both people. Now let's go from defensive shutdown to shared roadmap. Here's the transformation. The old story is, well, you shut down because you don't care. The new story is, you shut down because our system keeps demanding unsustainable things. The old story is, you need to try harder. The new story is, we need a model that fits both nervous systems. The old story is, you're impossible. The new story is, we've been using the wrong blueprint. That shift alone can save your neurodiverse marriage. Because once blame decreases, problem solving can begin. Now let's come up with a practical safety plan. Try this weekly check-in. Ask your autistic partner, where are you masking at home right now? What interactions drain you the most? And what helps you feel safe and real? And for the ASD spouse, you can ask your neurotypical spouse, where are you feeling disconnected? What kind of reassurance matters most? And what needs are legitimate but poorly translated? Then ask together, what is one change this week that reduces betrayal for both of us? That's the work, not perfection, not normalcy. We're talking about safety. If you're autistic and chronically shut down, you're not doing anything wrong. You may be morally exhausted from years of being asked to disappear politely. And if you're the neurotypical spouse, your ASD spouse is not withholding love. They may be protecting what little self remains after too much adaptation. And if both of you can understand that, then shutdown stops being the end of connection. It becomes the signal that your relationship needs a more ethical design. That's where healing starts. Not with more pressure, but with more truth. Now, if this spoke to your situation, leave a comment with the word truth. And if you want more guidance on healing neurodiverse marriages through nervous system safety, communication repair, and real-world structure, subscribe to the channel. Because most of the times, the relationship problem is not the people. It's the model they were handed. And we can build a better one. I'll see you in the next video. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.